School VP says you can take us to court and my father did. This incident took place in India, in the early 90s. The school where my sister and I had studied was in my hometown. We knew almost all the teachers since they were practically our neighbors. When it came to the time I graduated from school, the principal had retired and the vice principal took over as the principal. The vice principal was also from the same town and for some unknown reason had some sort of grudge against my father. In local gatherings etc. he would always try to belittle my father at all chances he could get. My father would normally let it pass since he knows that getting into silly arguments with such a bully is totally unproductive. When my sister and I had joined the school, my father was required to pay a refundable deposit of 5,000 per child, which would be returned back at the time each child graduated from the school. 10,000 rupees of 90s was a large amount then and is equivalent to 95,000 rupees of the present time. I graduated in 1989. When my father inquired about the refund, the VP had informed him that since my sister would be graduating in 1 year's time, both the deposits would be returned together. So, when my sister graduated from school, my father requested the school to refund both the deposits. There was no response even after 2 weeks and my father personally went to the school to demand the refund. The VP, being the egotistical bully, started arguing with my father stating that the school can't refund the deposits. The argument became very heated and he outright refused point blank and said we are not returning the deposits. Do what you can. You can take us to court if you want. My father went silent, got up and left the school, came home, sat down with mom, went through all the school-related documents she had kept. My mom had a very meticulous documentation system. She used to save every receipt, bill, stub etc. He found the receipts for the deposits. He took them to his lawyer friend. My dad informed his friends, whose children were in the same school, about the issue. The lawyer filed the case and took the school to court. The school couldn't provide any reason for withholding the deposits and fighting with the parent. My dad won. The school was instructed to pay back the deposits with interest and the court dues. My father's friends who were in the PTA took up the issue in the subsequent PTA meeting and got the school's trustee board to ensure that such issues won't be dealt with in the same manner, and all deposits will be refunded in time and strictly warned the VP not to bring personal grudges into school business. Other parents who were owed deposits but had forgotten about it, starts claiming them. Cost the school a lot, to pay back the deposits. TLDR, VP of school informs that they won't refund the refundable security deposits and challenges my dad to do what he can, that he can ever take them to court. My dad does take them to court, wins the dues with interest. VP gets reprimanded by the trustee board and PTA. Other parents start claiming the deposits too. Now to the comments. For those focusing on the Indian rupees to US dollar exchange rate, and coming up with about $1,300 and thinking that's not much, let's realign the thinking. A loaf of bread in the US is about $2.50. A loaf of bread in India is about 31.00 rupees. So, 95,000 rupees will buy about 3,064 loaves of bread. The same number of loaves is about $7,660. So, while the straight exchange rate comes in at $1,300, the actual purchasing power is nearly 6 times that. So, 7.5 grand are worth spending a little time to A. Get the money back and B. Stick it to a bully. Thanks for posting this. That's definitely how people should be thinking about it. To expand a little more for people who might not be familiar with stuff like this, the World Bank publishes annual PPP conversion factors, purchasing power parity, which is basically the same concept as comment OP calculated above, but averaged over more types of goods. In 2019, latest year available, $1 USD had the same purchasing power for households as 21 rupees. So, 95,000 rupees would generally be equivalent to $4,500 USD in terms of how much stuff you could buy. That's a significant amount of money. In the Hot Gates trilogy, The writer has the protagonist ask how much a meal would cost to help figure out the price of his goods. It always seems like a good way to figure out purchasing power. Here in Hawaii, a gallon of milk is around $5, while back stateside, it's only 3.45. The sunshine tax is real. And how soon after this was the vice principal fired? OP replied. The lucky guy wasn't fired. He had too many connections with the diocese that runs the school. He retired after 4 years, in 1996. Short tenure though. Probably down to costing them so much. 10,000 rupees of 90s was a large amount then and is equivalent to 95,000 rupees of the present time. Holy cow. That's some pretty steep inflation. Awesome, but why are there deposits to begin with? Under what circumstances would you not be eligible to get the money back? OP replied. These were security deposits / caution deposits. If the student causes damage to school property etc., the costs would be deducted from the deposit and sometimes the deposit wouldn't be paid back. What kind of damage to property could warrant such deposits? We are not returning the deposits. Do what you can. You can take us to court if you want. Okay, I guess I will take you to court then. Obviously, VP did not expect your dad to follow through. Surprise PK Chuface. I just did the conversion of 95,000 rupees to USD, which is around $1,300 USD, that is a lot even for US public education. In another comment OP mentions the VP had connections with the diocese, so, it was a private Catholic high school. I missed that part the first time around. I don't know how expensive Catholic schools are in the US, don't care to find out either. The principal had all that education and was still so stupid, shame. I love stories where a bully loses. There's got to be something behind the grudge the guy had with your dad. Is your dad still around? If so, you should see if you can get any new info out of him on it now that you're grown. OP replied. My dad is well respected in the community. He felt that my dad was hogging respect which he felt was his, by some stupid reasoning. These kinds of people never seem to realize that their petty grievances are exactly why people don't respect them. After reading some of OP's replies, I'm getting some flashbacks of the Three Idiots movie on Netflix, reminds me of that main character teacher. OP replied. Virus was at least brainy, this dude was not. If anyone is curious, Rupees 95,000.00 is $1,299 is €1,085.73. I'm amazed the VP didn't lose his job. I'm also amazed that the PTA there actually did some good for the parents. I guess I'm just jaded, I've heard too many PTA horror stories lol. Good on your dad and his friends, though. OP replied. My dad knew most of the parents, as they all were from the same town, practically neighbors, schoolmates, relatives, and friends. The VP was really an obnoxious man and most of the parents didn't want to lose an opportunity to put him down. Proof that school systems are corrupted and broken all over the world. I'm glad this case was resolved. 95,000 rupees of the present time. Wow. That's over 1,000 euros. Did you ever find out why the guy hated your dad so much? Was it small man syndrome? OP replied. Physically? Nope. My dad is an engineer and is well respected in the community. He felt that my dad was hogging respect which he felt was his, by some stupid reasoning. So 95,000 rupees, that's the equivalent of almost 1,085 euros or 1,298 US dollars, if others are wondering too. When it costs the school a lot to pay back money that should not have even been touched, yeah, I would have gone digging into the books a bit more. Bigger question, how long did the court case take LMAO? I would expect a case here to drag for quite a few years. Other than court fees and interest, if they were enforced for all the other parents as well, none of that should have cost anything to the school. Hell, if they were smart about it, that money should have simply sat in a high-yield account somewhere accruing interest, so even with the fees and fines they still should have come out ahead. Although judging by how he managed things based on how well it directed attention away from his tiny penis, he probably wasn't that smart. OP replied. He was once caught diverting funds from his church, he was the treasurer, to his own account and hushed it up by paying it back. For sure, he might have schemed or stole money from the school's account. To me, it's a weird culture to take in a security deposit for a student at all, which is returned on graduation. Why should the school keep that money if the student does not graduate? OP replied. As per rules, if the student does not graduate and transfers to another school, the school has to refund the deposit. What is the point of the deposit in the first place then?